I'm going to call this Star City Council special meeting to order. It's December 8th, 2020 at 7 p.m. I would ask all of you to please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to have Mr. Larry Osborne come up here and give us the invocation for tonight, please. Thank you, sir.
It is my privilege and honor to be able to come and do this. So let's bow for a word of prayer. Father, we are so thankful for just so many things that you give us. We're thankful for this time of year, being able to celebrate the birth of your son, Jesus, and just being able to have time to meet with family and all, just coming through Thanksgiving. But I pray tonight you would be with the city council as they talk about some of the things with the comprehensive plan and moving forward, how that will look for the future of Star and for us as a community, for this city. And I just pray that you will give them wisdom and guidance as they talk about different things. If there's decisions that have to be made, help them to have the wisdom that they need to for that. I also pray that you will be with those that we know that are dealing with COVID and having to fight through that, but also with all the unrest that's going on in our country right now and even here locally with that just help us to pivot the best we can and move forward with all the things that we have going on in our lives. So just be with this time tonight, and we just ask your blessing on this meeting. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Councilman Nielsen,
Present.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Here.
Councilman Keys,
Here.
Councilman Hershey,
Here.
All are present. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion, any opposed? Sorry, that motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to the CBD architectural guidelines overlay. We have, are you going to talk about this, Sean, or? Okay, so we have Logan Simpson submitted a scope of work to do our Central Business District architectural overlay guidelines. They're currently working on the ones for the South of River Plan, and so we reached out to them to provide a price to continue that through the rest of our Central Business District. Do we have any questions, comments on that?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I support this proposal. It's something that I think has been needed in Star for quite some time. I think the budgetary amount is quite reasonable and can be done within the boundaries of our current fiscal year's budget. So I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this proposal.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I got a motion. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We will get with Logan Simpson on that so we can move that forward. All right, we're going to move back into the Star Comprehensive Plan. Do we have a printout of who has signed up? So we never closed the public hearing on the last meeting. We just tabled this until tonight. So it's still open. We do have some folks that did not testify at the last hearing that can speak. Those that already testified will not be able to speak at this hearing tonight because you've already given your 3-minute comment on there. So I'm waiting for the sheet. Is this the one that has the online end? I guess, Dana, I'll just have you tell me who online. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll have the people that are here. I think all 3 of these here already spoke, right? Oh, Joe has not spoken? Okay, so Joe Abreu, we'll have him come in here and speak. Ryan? Okay, I'm sorry. We'll have Joe speak after Sean goes through his spiel. My apologies. Go ahead, Sean.
You guys really want to hear me again? So hopefully you guys all got
Can you,
Delayed.
it's not coming through very clear.
hopefully you guys all got the late copy of the amended staff report. I tried to make it as simple as possible. I redlined the or highlighted in red the important facts so you didn't have to read everything. I'm just going to briefly go through some of the highlights of the comp plan changes. If you guys would like to stop me at any point to ask questions, you may.
Hello?
Oh, hang on one second. All right, good. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so the following land use map changes are proposed. I'm just going to go through these just the bullets real fast. Removal of the ag land use designation. Creation of an estate residential land use designation. Creation of a commercial industrial corridor land use designation. On that one from our last meeting, we had some discussion about modifying that area, and this is that area between Kingsbury and Blessinger on Highway 44. And we had some discussion about modifying that. We originally put it at 1,000 feet depth, and we got some feedback from not only the property owners out there, but also the business community. And so I did propose some language change, which I'll talk about a little bit further down the way here. Sorry, I'm going to try to move this as I talk so folks at home can see it as well. Okay, also creation of an ag business land use designation, creation of a south of the river sub-area planning area designation on the plan, on the map, reclassification of the existing neighborhood residential designation land use area into the new estate residential designation. Staff did receive some letters from neighbors, mostly within the Star Acres subdivision after our last comp plan meeting. I did put those in your packets if you did want to look at those or had a chance to look at those. Also, the designation of the special transition overlay area on existing county created subdivisions, residential subdivisions. Removal of the neighborhood centers, commercial area. Those are those nodes that we had sprinkled up there on the north side of town. Sorry, I think I'm ahead of myself. Here we go. Removal of the compact residential land use designations west of Canada Road and north of Floating Feather realignment. We did have testimony at the last meeting from the property owners on the north side of the existing alignment of Floating Feather, known as the Hootenanny Farms, the Zamzos, and the Dixon properties, requesting that we keep that in its current designation of compact residential. I was proposing to change it to neighborhood residential. The folks would like to keep it as the compact residential.
So Sean,
Yes.
I have a question about that one. So
Can
you,
you
sorry.
speak to that?
so I have a question about that one. So you said west of Canada and north of Floating Feather realignment. So is that supposed to be Highway 16?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yes, that was it. Thank
Easy.
you.
I like those easy questions. Revisions to the current floodway land use designation. That's recognizing the new FEMA maps along the river. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here with my, I think we're close. Okay. Revisions to the current impact area boundaries, and that was the discussions we had with the surrounding cities. We did have some testimony, live testimony from at our last comp plan meeting from Nampa and Caldwell. And then letters presented from Meridian and Eagle.
Can you remind me of the Wilder property on that one? Eagles requested that the Wilder property in Palmer Road be removed from the Star Comp Plan.
Correct. That's what Eagle stated in their letter.
And where was that on the map?
It's on the west side of Palmer, north of Highway 44.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And then city initiated land use reclassifications of specific properties. And that was that cleanup of some of those downtown properties that we had misdesignated in our original comp plan map. For example, the part of the Moyle property, portions of the Ridley's property, and redesignation of the industrial at the sewer treatment plant. And then we had the property owner requested land use designations, specifically the northeast corner of Star Road and Shinden Boulevard, southwest corner of Star Road and Joplin Road, southeast corner of Palmer Road and State Street. Again, you guys can stop me at any time if you want more detail. Northeast corner of Highway 16 and State Street. The southwest corner of Highway 16 and the current floating feather realignment.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
so that point on the northeast corner of Highway 16 and State Street, there were multiple requests by different parties. Can we break those out and talk about those specifically?
Yeah, I want to do that right now.
This is a good time as any.
Okay. To talk about the northeast corner of 16 and 44, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you've rolled up what I believe are multiple requests into just one thing.
Trevor, could you put up the
map?
probably my PowerPoint?
Oh, the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
You want the map up here, Sean?
Yes, please.
This one?
If you go to slide for you here. Slide 20.
Let's see. It doesn't give me the
Oh,
slide.
sorry,
numbers.
keep going, sorry. Oops.
Here we go. Let me just go here.
One more
Right here?
back one. There you go. So that upper,
Okay,
so the lower slide is what we currently show on that, at that intersection. The upper slide is what were originally proposed. So I think the question from Councilmember Keys is the area right along Highway 16, which is the big black line.
this one right here.
It's and starting from the north and moving your way south, we've got it designated as neighborhood residential, compact residential, multifamily residential, and then commercial. Going from north to south.
Okay, but and then there's proposals that are east of that as well.
The proposals east, so if you look at in the middle, that right in the middle, that kind of green area, that light green area or avocado area, that's the existing Amazon Falls development. So we're just matching the zoning with the comp plan designation of mixed use. And then we got the mixed use there with where your pointer is. And then south of that, we've got commercial all the way to the corner of Palmer and 44. So if you look at the slide below, you can see it's currently compact residential above and mixed use to the corner.
Okay, and so I would like to go on the record as saying that I've seen nothing in any workshop or in public testimony that compels me that the zoning that the landowner asked for is something I'd rather have than what's on the comprehensive plan today for that specific area in the corner that has the light
You're talking
industrial
this
and the
right here?
commercial.
You're referencing this, right?
Referencing this,
I know, but look at my pointer right here. You're referencing not changing it from that
correct?
to that. Okay. Okay.
As an alternative, staff would suggest. I think your testimony at the last meeting was you were not wanting to. You stated write a blank check. You wanted more. I think you wanted more detail. Staff would suggest that possibly keeping the commercial on the corner up against the highway at the corner of 16 and 44, and maybe designating that northern part as mixed use. That would allow them to come in with the whole property and do a PUD, and then you'd have the detail that you would need rather than breaking it up into residential, compact, multifamily, commercial. I think that's your concern.
That's my concern is I think we're adding a lot of granularity there that
Yeah.
grants entitlements without us seeing any type of a concept plan.
Yeah.
I know that there's a couple of other places on the comprehensive plan where they've asked for something similar, but we had a workshop and we talked about that and we saw a fair amount of detail, and we've had nothing like that here. I would be willing to consider the light industrial area as switching to mixed use and keep the commercial as commercial.
Okay.
Especially with some of the other changes in our comprehensive plan that would still allow for a light industrial use if one was to come before the city.
Okay.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I have a couple of thoughts on that. As part of some of our economic development activities in the city, I've been able to meet with somebody who's representing that property and gain a little bit more insight, see a little bit of a concept diagram. And I believe that we'll be able to see some of that here tonight. And so I guess I would ask for us to defer any decision on that or too much discussion until we've had an appropriate opportunity. Some of the thoughts that I had, because I was kind of thinking in the same lines as you just described, Councilman Keys, when we first saw this, and having learned a little bit more about what is being planned or proposed there, what is being planned for that site, the commercial interest that is intending to come in, and some of the support, some of the reasons behind these particular zoning requests. I do believe that it is in the interest of our city to move forward with what is being proposed here. I'm not sure that right. I think, Sean, what you just said about potentially mixed use with a PUD, that probably achieves the same sort of objective. And so I think I could go either way on that, but I think that we've got a good plan that's coming in here. And I agree, as a council, we haven't seen what that is, but I have. And so I just want to represent to you guys that I feel like this is heading in the right direction.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I'm not saying I can't be persuaded, but I'd love to see what you've seen.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not, and sorry, Mayor Chadwick.
Okay.
I guess my question is to you, do we have that plan for tonight to be able to see what?
The problem we have is they've already spoken in the last hearing.
Yep.
And we never closed it, so they can't come back and speak tonight unless we reopen it to everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well-
unless you have some proposed new changes, and they can speak to the new changes only. Because we talked about this in the last hearing.
I think because I'm proposing to designate it as all mixed use and commercial in the corner, I think that's a change that
Okay.
we probably could let them get up and address that
Okay.
specific change. But then I think you do need to open it up to anybody that wants to talk
To speak towards that.
specifically about that. one.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
I think that would be really helpful because otherwise it's just me here to represent to you guys. And, you know, if you trust me, great. If not, then, well, you know, no worries. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't a simple, oh, that's what you're doing. Okay. You know, really in-depth conversation and
so I'm
look at
gonna,
what they have going there. And I don't believe that this will be writing a blank check. I think there are ways that we can do it that make sure that things like that come back to us, you know, for the proper reviews.
so I want Chris, can I get Chris online real quick? I just want to make sure we're good with that.
Yeah, I'm
decision.
here, Mayor.
So did you hear what Sean was talking about for that?
Yeah.
corner? And that's appropriate for us to open it up for that section only to talk about that piece, right?
Right, yeah, then anybody that's either in the room or out in the foyer or online could comment on that new part, that
Okay,
new information.
okay, thank you. All right, anything else?
Let me, if you go back to,
Oh, I'm
we're done
sorry.
with that one. Let me just finish up real fast with my list.
Okay,
All right, and then again.
you
the-
have control now.
Okay. Oops. Okay, and then again, the other properties to consider were the Hootenanny Farms property on the corner of what we'll call Old Floating Feather and Highway 16, the northwest corner.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
so going back to the previous property before that,
Oh,
the
sorry.
southwest corner of Highway 16 and current Floating Feather. So what you're proposing is that we actually leave that use the way it is in the existing comprehensive plan, future land use map. That's how I understand reading that.
So that was a specific request to that property owner on that south side of current Floating Feather.
Mhm.
Right now, it's designated as compact residential. He would like to redesignate that corner as mixed use. Understanding that access is going to go away at some point when realignment occurs, but he has plans for that corner of a non-residential nature.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And then a cleanup of the former Irene Wilson property on Star Road to recognize the R5 or the R5 rezone that we recently did. And then the northeast corner of Pollard Road and Highway 16, which was requested to change from residential to commercial / industrial. I've got it designated on the new plan as commercial, which would allow industrial uses within that zone. And that's all the changes on the map. And then the text changes very briefly, sorry. Again, removal of the agricultural land use designation, add a state residential land use designation, revise the neighborhood residential designation to better define minimum density range, revise the compact residential designation for the same purpose. Same with the high density residential to better define the minimum density ranges. Remove the neighborhood commercial center land use designation. Revise the commercial designation to allow for light industrial land use options. Revise the mixed use designation to allow for light industrial land use options. Add the commercial industrial corridor land use designation on Highway 44. And then the question came up about that designation and the swath that we had on that commercial industrial corridor. So I rewrote that section of the text in the comp land estate. This area is located along this Highway 44 corridor on both sides of the highway. The depth of the area is determined on a parcel by parcel basis and will be further determined by the ultimate location of the backage road designated on the adopted eCamp map. And then we'll have the reference to that map in there. That will separate residential and non-residential uses. The areas may be developed as part of a mixed use or PUD project. Then it goes on to talk about the uses.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
so that's the description we talked about for the north part of 44. On the south part, I thought we talked about a border that followed a body of water, loosely followed a body of water, a canal or a ditch.
Yes, we did. So I could add that language in there as well.
Okay, and just for the purpose of the rest of the council, do you have a map? You can just show them what we were talking about.
And we probably could, and actually we could leave it the way it is because the eCamp map also shows a backage road that follows that canal as well.
Okay.
And so I think that it's appropriate to keep that language the way it is and have it on both sides. Let me show you the map real fast though.
Which map? Is it the one that's on here?
Yeah. Just the separate map. There we go.
This one?
If you can zoom in to the commercial industrial corridor.
Your touchscreen. You guys want to budget one for me?
Go up a little bit.
It's right in here, right? Right here. Go back over to this way.
Go west a little bit.
Scroll to the right a little bit. There you go.
So you can see the canal right there that is at the edge of that hashed red
Right here.
area.
Right.
Yeah. So the eCamp map that we have proposed shows a frontage, a backage road that follows that area too. There. So I think we can, I think we put enough flexibility in there to accommodate that.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Then I added the agribusiness land use designation, revised the implementation policies to recognize the south of the river sub-area plan within different sections of the comprehensive plan. Recognizing the light industrial allowances in the commercial areas and revising the estate residential in the mixed use planning areas. We kind of ended last time with the discussion, a brief discussion of the transitional lot discrepancies within the comprehensive plan. Councilmember Keys did come up with a matrix that I've included right there on your screen. And if Councilmember Keys would like to go over that real fast.
Certainly. So what I really put down here was I think there's been I don't know, a sense of the council, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we probably needed to move away from some of the more open language that we had, expecting that people would kind of follow our intent into something a little more prescriptive in terms of those transitions. And so I put down two tables. One is about transition density just in general, and the bottom one is about transition density near the special transition areas. And I don't know if council's had an opportunity to look at that, but in general, it's defining, except for the larger lots, it's defining a transition of 2 units per acre for directly adjacent projects and 3 units per acre jump between projects that are across a road, until you get up to the medium and high densities where I don't have any limits at all. On the bigger properties, and again, these are ones that aren't in a special transition zone, I've allowed for some bigger acreages directly adjacent. And then in the special transition areas, I've tried to follow what I, again, think is the sense of the council, which is for acres or for lots that are 1 acre or larger, that we would have 1 acre lots directly adjacent, half-acre lots across roads. And if we have lots in those areas that are smaller than 1 acre, that directly adjacent lots will be 1/3 acre and R3 if it's across a road. And I would invite comment from the rest of the council on that. And you're thinking about just the value of that tool.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
I really like what you've done here, Councilman Keys. I think, having a table like this is going to be very helpful. I personally, I would like to see, starting at the top there, with the 1 acre or larger lots, the allowed adjacent transition, I'd like to increase that to a half-acre lot. And I'm okay with the R3 allowed across the road transition there. And then similarly down in the density near the special transition area, lots smaller than 1 acre, but I would say half-acre, between a half and 1 acre should be adjoined by half-acre lots as well. If there are lots that are smaller than a half-acre, then I like that 1/3 acre designation. So I'd like to see us add one more line in there, if we could.
Okay, and this is going to be another one, since this is a new table that people can speak to if they want to speak to on this hearing. Because this is new.
Yes.
Okay,
And I guess my thought along those lines is I believe that's what, that's the way I read the comp plan today. And that's kind of the way I felt like the council has discussed, with that 1/2 to 1 acre, that seems to have been the conversation piece there. So that's kind of my thought process and personally what I'd like to see.
okay. Any further discussion on the table?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Hershey?
just, I was going to echo basically Councilman Nielsen. I wish we'd had something like this the last 4 or 5 land use agreements. And it does, it's much better encapsulates the message and the vision I think we've been trying to get across. And with Councilman Nielsen's minor changes, I think it even makes it a little bit better. So I'm all for it, at least at this time. I'll wait for public comment too, to hear what they have to say.
So Chris has a comment here, so we gotta get our legal on.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, members of the council. Just a reminder that while you're trying to put in this grid in your comprehensive plan is not your code. And so while this will be a guide for the land use applications that come before the city, if you want this to be actually codified, we'll also need to make this change in your zoning ordinance so that it'll be set in stone if that's the direction the council wants to go. So again, just a reminder that, and I guess for everybody on the call as well, or on the in the meeting, the comprehensive plan, as we've talked about and as you all know, is the guide, and the zoning ordinance, once land is zoned and they have those entitlements, then that's those laws that are actually in your ordinances are the ones that will govern how that development happens going forward. And so if you want this to be actually in your zoning code, we'll need to make that change too, because the comp plan won't necessarily govern applications that come in once the zone is already set.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
in my discussions with staff, that was actually our intent, was to codify this, but the thinking is that this is something I can adopt tonight. And it would take, it's going to take quite a bit more time to get this in a code, so that we could get this in the comprehensive plan now and then follow it up with a code change. It's at a minimum, it's helpful.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a great planning tool. I just want to remind everybody that in the comp plan, it's still just a planning tool and not actually code. So this will help inform anybody that's coming in. They'll be able to read your comp plan and know what the expectations are, but we will want to take that next step and put it in your subdivision ordinance as we move forward, just to make it clear for any property that's existing that they'll still have to abide by these standards.
Mr. Mayor, Council, with the importance of this, because we seem to have a lot of developments that are directly affected by this, I would commit to getting this in front of you sooner rather than later. I've got a couple other little cleanups that I want to also do on the code, the ever changing code, and I can get that back to you pretty quickly so we can codify that and get that
Okay.
in the code.
Thank you.
If that's
Mayor
the
Chadwick.
direction you're going.
I do.
Okay, Councilwoman?
I agree. I think this will be very helpful. Thank
Sorry.
you. This will be a very helpful tool. A couple of thoughts I did have on it though were, when you're looking at the R2 and then underneath the allowed across road transition, it goes up to R5. And so when I see that, that's quite a big jump to me for, two homes per acre to go up to 5 per acre. So just curious what the rest of the council thought, if they, or if that across road transition, if that could be further defined into what type of road that is. Are we talking about, a neighborhood, small neighborhood road or a collector road, what that means.
Yeah.
So that was my two thoughts.
Probably want to define that as if we're talking about a collector road or greater.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I think those are really good points brought up by Councilwoman Salmonson. And, maybe we want to look at doing something like, a neighborhood residential designation, which would give the council and planners some flexibility there instead of just a blanket R5. That could be anywhere from R3 to R5 under a neighborhood residential. Language like that, just give us a little more flexibility in there. So, situationally dependent, but good call outs.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I think the other thing to recognize is we're really talking about transition areas where we meet, and these are the types of densities in a transition area. So, for instance, if we had a 5-acre parcel that was zoned R2, and right next to it, somebody wants to bring in 100 acres. I'm not suggesting that whole entire 100 acres would have to follow this guideline, but certainly things along the margins of the lower zoning would. Once you get further away from the margins, then whatever is in the comp plan applies. This is really meant to be transitional, and if we put this in the code, I think we need to have words that kind of define that accordingly.
So should we change the wording though in that? It says up to R3?
Yeah.
Up to R4, right? Because it almost sounds like this is what we're saying, that you have to put it right next to it.
Right. Yeah, that would accomplish it.
Or no more than,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed. Whatever wording is right, correct. Okay? All right?
And again, remember when it comes back to you in a code amendment, we'll be able to get a lot more detailed and specific on it. So I will just work with the creator of the matrix to clean it up for the comp plan based on the testimony.
Okay.
I'm sure he's happy.
Beeger agrees.
I'm sure. I figured he would.
And then that subdivided part down on the bottom of that?
And then the same council member also has provided some additional comp plan language regarding future subdivision. And Councilmember Keys, would you like to go into that
Read it.
discussion?
Yeah, let me just read it so that so it's in the record. So what I'm looking at is we have in our comp plan several places where we talk about being adjacent to land that's not likely to be subdivided in the future. And what I've done here is provide a definition of not likely to be subdivided in the future, which is a legal encumbrance that prevents land from being further subdivided. This could include subdivision CC&Rs, easements granted to municipal or other political entities, voluntary development easements granted to conservation land trusts, or other legal encumbrances. This specifically excludes statements from landowners regarding future intent without some other legal encumbrance. And the intent of that is when people are talking about a development project and have, and are making public testimony or even expressing just their own opinion about how they intend to develop their land in the future with no legal encumbrance or legal requirement to do what they say they're going to do, they're actually having an impact on that adjacent private landowner and potentially on the value of that land without stepping up and making some type of investment on their own that that indicates they're not putting their money where their mouth is, if you will. And so if I think going forward, if somebody wants to talk about the fact that their property is not likely to be subdivided in the future, that they ought to have some type of legal standing to make that claim other than their own opinion or thoughts at the time, because frankly, we all age and our plans all change. And I think without some type of legal requirement, we're burdening adjacent landowners without any type of legal or commitment footing, if that makes sense.
Councilor,
And if landowners wish to, they can get a hold of the, Treasure Valley Land Trust tomorrow and encumber their property so it becomes unlikely to be subdivided in the future by working with them to give them their development rights. This is something they can do tomorrow. So.
Councilmember Keys, would you also consider adding potential of down zoning their property or changing the comprehensive plan designation? Because that is something else that could lock that in, and then it would require a council decision to change it.
Yeah, I'd be open to anything. What I'm looking for here is some type of a legal footprint in the record that encumbers that property from being further subdivided in the future. So other than just a statement that could change based on facts that happen in people's lives.
So Sean, you're talking about adding that down zoning language to the end of this or somewhere
Yeah,
in
put
here?
it somewhere in there as another option. For example, if you're saying your 10-acre lot's never going to redevelop, then let's zone it to a zone that is a minimum of 10 acres, or that's another. I guess that's another tool that they could.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
I love the intent of the language here, especially since we recently struggled with this particular language. And really, I like the suggestion from Sean as well. Because as I read through this, I kind of looked at it, maybe a bit of a devil's advocate, the opposite of Councilman Key's approach, because if we have a landowner, I mean, there's a legal encumbrance on agricultural activities already. Idaho's Right to Farm Act, for example. And for a developer to come in and just assume that, well, eventually I'll be able to just take over all land, which they kind of do. All land is going to be developed. We will no longer have agrarian type of activities. And I don't realize that's a blanket statement on my own, but that seems to be a general idea is what I'm trying to express. That also changes potentially the value of that particular homeowner's land and the potential use of it and things like that, and completely ignores, generational farming, or in the case of our, at the last hearing, somebody who has a working quarter horse ranch, that it's their active business. And they should, as they get to retirement age or want to move on, they should be able to sell that as an active quarter horse ranch and have somebody come in and buy that and continue that type of agrarian activity on that. And so the thought that I had is, how do we make this so that it doesn't just favor a developer, that it's equal application and provides the clarity that we need to make a legal decision on these things. And so I like the idea of, down zoning and things like that. I guess my question is, are there other things? Is there something else that the city of Star can do? Some sort of, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the zoning and the comp plan stuff, but is there some other legal way that a homeowner or a landowner can go in on their own and create that encumbrance that protects the intent of their property and designates it to their own benefit or detriment for the future.
Okay,
So I guess I'd like to see us think about that a little more before we put that in.
all right. Any further comments on that part?
Wouldn't that part fall under a code as well?
Seems like it.
So for what we're doing with the comp plan, I think this is fine, including the downzoning.
So
Sets the-
for our
sets the
comp
goal,
plan, I think
yeah.
what we have is fine, not likely to be subdivided in the future, is just fine in the comp plan, period. But in the code, we should be defining that further.
And we'll also want to make sure that we run it by our legal counsel.
Mr.
to
Mayor,
make sure we're not doing
Mr.
anything.
Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I would love to hear how you think we should define not likely to be subdivided in the future in our comprehensive plan.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, Councilman Nielsen.
Well, I think what I just said is not likely to be subdivided in the future, period, is fine in the comprehensive plan. But we need to provide a definition for that in our code.
Okay.
Okay. Any more stuff there? So that's another item there that's going to be discussed because that's new. That could be rediscussed.
That's all I have,
Okay,
other than I've included the
so
proposed plan, land use plan there.
the proposed plan.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with public testimony. There's the three things that if you've already spoken that you can speak about in this hearing, which is the transitional density table, the northeast corner of Highway 16 or 44, and the not likely to be subdivided in the future topics. If you haven't spoken, then you can speak about anything on the comp plan thing that we've talked about. So, okay. So we'll start with the folks that are here, because I'm sure you don't want to be here all night. So I have Miss Becky McKay. Did you want to speak to one of those three items? Because I know you spoke in the other one. Okay. And again, just to remind everybody, we got about 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
These are the online folks. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Becky McKay with Engineering Solutions, business address 1029 North Rosario and Meridian. I'd like to speak on the transitional density. I think, having some type of a guideline helps us from a planning perspective because everyone has a different opinion on what is an appropriate transition. But I fully understand. I've had projects where I had 5-acre lots adjoining. They wanted us to do like half-acre lots or acre lots next to them. We obliged them. We also stubbed a street and utilities to them. And then those same projects are coming back like 10, 15 years later sometimes. And then they're asking for extremely high density residential. And so then the acre lots and the half-acre lots we created, they are opposing it. There's a project going through Meridian right now because they're dumping traffic into a subdivision, was a dead end cul-de-sac street. And so now I inadvertently created opposition for the redevelopment of that 5-acre parcel, which the gentleman said he was never going to develop it. So if you don't put stub streets to it, you don't stub utilities, I guess then it makes it difficult to redevelop. That's one way. But more times than not, we find that down the road, however many years may go by, that those properties will redevelop unless they have so many improvements on them that they can't, like big arenas and large estate homes and so forth. Lastly, I'd like to address the northeast corner there at Highway 16 and Highway 44. I know Councilman Keys has some reservations about the designations. Designations on your comp plan are a guiding document. They are no way entitlements. We still have to come before this body with a unified development plan requesting annexation and rezone. And as you well know, that is a quasi judicial decision, and you can deny an annexation for very little reason if you so choose. So the ultimate power lies with the council. I've been working with the Pardos and Mr. Bottles on this for months now. Our holdup has been the surveying, getting the topographic map. Obviously, the council's vision for this, because of its orientation between two major state highways, is high. And I guarantee you, what we will bring before this body will be something that meets your vision. And I would ask that you would keep these designations. I don't think that we're getting any carte blanche because the commercial will be intact. We're transitioning appropriately,
About 10 seconds.
and I'd ask that you leave this as shown on the map, because I think you will be extremely pleased what we bring forward. Thank you, sir.
So, Ms.
Mayor
McKay,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I just want to clarify, when you say as shown on the map, you're talking about the proposed section here, right? On what-
Yes,
okay,
yes, sir.
all right.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that everybody's clear with that. Okay, sorry, Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you. Ms. McKay, can you talk to us a little bit about the landowner's intent on that green area shown there, the high density housing section? What is their intent as far as the type of product, as far as maintaining ownership and the purpose for which they've requested that? Can you speak to those things a little bit?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Nielsen. They've got top-notch architects that are out of state who sent me over their concept plan, which was very impressive, with a large clubhouse, pool, gathering center, open space. These gentlemen, the Pardos, they're two brothers. They build these mixed-use developments with commercial components, multifamily components, townhome components, assisted living components, and then they maintain and retain that ownership. It's not built like Amazon Falls to the east, where they are subdividing each fourplex and selling them off to individual investors, which these gentlemen retain that ownership. They don't flip these projects. It is a significant and major investment to them. They take pride in the high quality and being the best at what they do. These guys, I mean, they're pretty impressive, and their resume is very impressive. And
Is there a similar type development? It may be difficult for us to envision that, so let me ask this a different way. Is there a class of construction or finished results that they're targeting?
yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Councilman Nielsen, for example, the fourplexes that are going to the east of us, we would kind of classify those as a Class C type product. These guys are Class A. As far as the exterior elevations, the curb appeal, the modulation, articulation in their designs, and the money that they spend. They build these to retain their dollar value, to last, and be part of their portfolio. And so they want to make a significant investment on something that's going to last. And obviously, a good example of this is like over at Renaissance. It was part of Hobble Creek, and it was designated by the city of Boise as high-density residential. That was their component to basically support Boise Research Center. I did the conditional use permit for those gentlemen out of Sun Valley. That project looks just as good today as it did the day it was built. They really spent a lot of money on masonry, on finishes, and that's what these guys are like. They build something to last and maintain value, and that's what they're pushing for.
Can you tell me a little bit about does that ownership component of the does that apply to the commercial area as well?
I would defer to Mr. Bottles to address that because he's dealt with them on the commercial components. And I have not seen the commercial component concept yet. So I defer to him. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time and the effort you guys are putting into this.
Mr. Bottles?
Evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time this evening. Mark Bottles. I need to state my address, right?
Yes.
And the day I forget, it's going to be in trouble. It's coming
Pull
soon.
that microphone up too, so.
Oh,
we make
yeah.
sure
Eight-
Everybody can hear you.
839 South Bridgeway Place, Eagle, Idaho. Been a commercial real estate broker 30 plus years here in the Valley. Just a little bit of background. I am working with the Pardos there on approximately 80 acres there on the corner, the northeast corner that we're talking about. I've been in basically worked with T-Sheets and Eagle to bring them into Eagle at Lakemore project that you're probably familiar with. Beautiful project, 2 office, finishing the second building. COVID's kind of put them out for now, right now. But worked with T-Sheets, which is now into it. Represented Lamb Weston here in Eagle when they spun back off of ConAgra, the competitors, to our good Simplot Corp here in town. But great company. Big issue that we had with both of them when they came to town is enough space in Eagle. We were able to accommodate it. The parking lots are tight. And then housing. And when I say housing, Becky mentioned Hubble Creek, the Boise Research Center. It's an institutional grade apartment project. And it's called the Renaissance. It's been there for, since my kids were little. They're your age, no, I'm kidding, John. But just a class A. These gentlemen, I've been involved with Pardos. They built a apartment project on the freeway in Meridian in the middle of the downturn. Institutional grade, they still own it today. They bought it, built it right there next to the water park. There, I forgot the name of the office building. There's a charter school, Compass Charter School there is next door. They build it, they own it, they maintain it. It's managed by the top property management company in the country. They're really particular of that, what they do. Across from St. Luke's in Nampa, they purchased 80 acres, a project that I'll show you that they just are finishing completion. Okay, to hand this out. Apologize. I wish I could blame my secretary, but I can't. This here that is the like a layout that they would do here at the site. This is their clubhouse.
Hang on until you go back there to talk, just so everybody can hear you up there. Did you learn how to use a copier?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Not the new ones. Not the new ones. I have to say, I become dependent on way too many people. So that project is one that was built across from St. Luke's just recently in Nampa. Big clubhouse, a gathering place, a big exercise facility. The site layout that you see there is a rough conceptual that Becky would be working on with her out-of-state architect and work with design. They use a lot of different materials. They use a lot of brick. Again, it's institutional grade project. They will have garages. It's under one parcel, not going to be sold off separate. What they've asked me to do is, in Nampa, we had a tech company that we were trying to bring there out front. They've had opportunities to sell the C-stores on the corner, Maverick, everything else. They will not sell that dirt. They have wanted to hold that because they want to put a corporate facility. They want to build buildings similar to what you see down there in Eagle, where Intuit is, and want to bring them. The tenant that I have been running with for close to 6 months has wanted to be in the Eagle area. Intuit, the success there, and even with Lamb Weston, has turned out quite good. And so Intuit's, as you have seen, built a second building there. The company we were running with wanted more ground. We actually initially went to Eagle to look, could not find enough ground to do that. They wanted housing. They wanted kind of everything in a plan. Pardos want to control the ground. They don't want to just sell it off. Their ideal would be along the front to give you some detail, and they're working on the design, would be similar to Lakemore, where they would have some retail shop buildings that would support like 2 office buildings that would be built. Ideally, they would like to have some height on those buildings. They would have to come before you with a plan to get some vertical height, 3 stories at a minimum is what they would like to see, similar to what you're seeing in Eagle River. Those are 3-story buildings. And have a couple of those, and then they would have some supporting restaurants similar to that you see with Lakemore. Then behind there, they would have apartments, which you see those are 3 stories, and then they want to transition down in the neighborhood with that. They do only have a right in, right out at the street there that comes out, so they have to move traffic that way. When I talked to them about bringing big box retail, they weren't excited about it at all. They wanted to see a campus that they own because they know those apartments and those associated with it. Part of the reason they're fine with having design standards and pushing for landscaping, but the
About
big
20
thing,
seconds.
okay, the thing that they want to push for is we're trying to reel them in, and they want to be able to get going quickly on the entire project. So that's what they want to do. So I stand for any questions. Sorry, I'm throwing it out there fast.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
we've talked a lot about the 2 lots, the commercial and the high density. Can you tell us a little bit about what the plan is for that medium?
Oh, there, yes, right behind that apartment.
Compact residential, right?
Yeah. So Becky can correct me if I'm wrong, but what they would do right behind the apartments to the north of that would be a townhome row product. So that would step it down there. And then behind there would be the compact zoning. Is that correct? Yeah, single family. So they want to step that down. They want to have a transition because of their apartments and then do that with the housing.
And those would both be for sale products?
Behind the, yes, the product behind would be for sale product. They may keep some of the townhomes. I don't know if they will. I don't, I haven't gone into detail. Part of that is looking for their employment base, particularly for the office. So they really do. Part of me, I have been pushing this because when we ran, we actually were looking at a couple, the Franz Whitty nursery site, which is on an Eagle that's sold, but that's going to a different user. They were looking at that. It wasn't big enough for what they want to do with apartments and office. They came in here and purchased this very fast because they wanted to move. Because when the tenant said, we don't really want to be in Canyon County across from the hospital, we'd like to be further in with Eagle. The thing that sold them is Star, we're fortunate that we got several river crossings, and that's a big plus for them, to get to the freeway with Highway 16. That's part of the excitement about the office use there.
So with Eagle being perhaps one of the first places that these folks were looking at in particular, I wouldn't imagine that the ordinances that we currently have for landscaping and otherwise would be of any concern to them. This council has talked a lot about having improved or even more landscaping requirements in our ordinances, and especially on a project like this. Do you?
I would encourage you to have, if there's a way to do it, to make that a requirement of this, because it's going to enhance the office and enhance I think around the apartment, you're going to want that similar to what Hobble Creek has. My suggestion would be, I would encourage you to do that in there, and I told them that would be a thing when we're doing the office, similar to what, if you see at Lakemore, it's pretty, there's a lot of young landscaping, it takes a while to grow it up, but I would push for some density if there's a way to do that. I don't know if the word's density, sorry, on the landscaping, but thickness, stature.
Density, thickness.
I like
Thickness.
Any further,
Station.
Yes.
any further comments on Mr. Bottles?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
Mr. Wallace, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
So part of what this council's been working on is we've been trying to fix our property tax imbalance. We are about 3% commercial and 97% residential. We're trying to work on local jobs. Right now, almost everybody in Star who's working is going to Boise. Yeah. We are trying to raise the standards of projects that come to Star. And this corner represents, to me, one of our great opportunities to be able to accomplish all those goals.
Mm-hmm.
Is the project that you're looking at bringing here, are you going to help us accomplish those goals?
Yeah, that's my full intention, is to see that through. I don't have any ownership. I'm strictly a broker. I get paid to put deals together, just so you know that. But the goal would be, I think, on that corner, ideally having some real nice tall glass nice looking Class A office buildings there, you know, and having that blend, what they want to accomplish with what we've been working with Becky on, I think would just be a huge asset. To tell you the truth, there's not many corners like an Eagle. They're gone. There's just, it's too tight. We almost couldn't fit the second building into it. It kind of, that deal blew up. It was a great success story that, hey, in Idaho, people want to come with the tech jobs here, and the success rate's great. And I'm with you. Eagles turned around a lot because they weren't that way. They were similar when I moved here, similar to what Star is today. And I think the opportunities are here. They've kind of run out of land. To be honest with you, that ground was supposed to go into Eagle. It was both ways. I kind of worked with your folks here to push it into Star. I live in Eagle. I like Eagle, nothing disparaging, but it was going to be planned to be in like an R2. And I think when you're at a major intersection like that, you need office buildings, you need, Class A apartments, you need that density packed right in that intersection as much as you can. And I think you guys have done a great job here, but ideally that's what we're pushing for to get done there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions of Mr. Bottles? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Joe Abreu. Name and address, sir, for the record.
Joe Abreu, 2730 North Rolling Hills in Star. My thing is very brief. If it's possible, if we could put up the map,
The map.
comprehensive plan map,
Okay.
the big map, if that is easy enough. So we get to the point here. Obviously, you've made some changes. I guess my concern is I'm in the transition overlay area there adjacent to the school district property in the green, I guess. I'm in that area, that green area, I guess is the school district property.
Yes.
And obviously there's been to the north has been an approved plan, and then the other section there that's kind of like next to there's been an approved plan where the ditch comes through there, the water ditch. And then we were here last week or whatever for the plan next door. My concern is
This is the Sunfield project that was just approved.
that was approved, and that was the
It was the
project that was
River
tabled.
Creek that was tabled.
Right.
Here's the canvas back that was
That's tabled that,
Greendale right there, just for
Yeah.
reference.
my concern is in the transition overlay, which I'm in. That school district property will probably be there for a very long time. Maybe a school in the next year, maybe a school in the next 20 years. We don't really know, I guess. I guess my concern is if it's possible for you to protect Star Acres again, in the event the school district sells that property, which they may, that be covered by the transition overlay,
You're talking right here then,
the
basically.
green area, the whole
And then
thing,
This is the middle school right here. Okay, so like this section here.
right? Basically that whole piece.
Yeah.
That is in green, because the middle school would be below that.
Yeah, right here.
And I don't know, well, possibly, but obviously the transition overlay is next to the school property now, correct? So that being that that's all school property, that in the event it sells, that is, if there's some way to put some type of verbiage in that would protect that.
I think it protects it anyway because it's abutting the transitional piece, correct?
Yeah, if the school was, so right now, our comp plan designation is open public space on the school property.
Yeah.
So if they were to sell that property, they'd have to come to the council and change the comprehensive plan. And if they change it to any residential designation, your existing transitional overlay would protect you from,
Okay.
I think what you're.
I guess that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
find out. And then the other thing that was brought to my attention, and I'm going to relook at it because I forgot what it said. In, I guess, your new comprehensive plan in your packet, I think this has been brought up before. The term buffer has some latitude. And if that term buffer is going to remain in your plan, that term be well defined. And I think some of the buffer zones that we've talked about before, say with a certain amount of length and then half acre lot or possibly acre lot type thing, if that buffer designation could be well defined to so much open space in between, and I would prefer obviously in those buffer zones, larger lots adjacent to other people's properties, but, or in transition overlay areas. But right now it's kind of, can be half acre with a certain amount, can be acre with a certain amount. If that could be more well-defined
Okay.
on the larger end of it.
So does the table that Councilman Keys proposed help you with that concern?
This is a table of what? I'm sorry.
Table right here. I don't know if you saw that out there.
It's not out there.
So it was up
Well,
on
it
the-
is,
was
but
up
you
on the
can't,
screen.
you can't see anything on that.
So
screen.
basically what this does is it says if 1 acre or larger lots in these allowed densities near special transition areas, allowed adjacent transition is 1 acre lots, allowed across a road transition is half.
Yeah, I heard
acre
you
lots.
guys talking about that.
We
Now,
talked
does that
about
apply with,
defining the road or the
I'm
road.
saying, does that apply with the special transition zone?
Yes, that's specifically to that zone.
Okay, because, and I didn't see that. So I guess the big thing was the word buffer people had concerns with, that it wasn't well defined.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, about 30 seconds.
okay. And then the only other issue, I think that being well defined, and then somehow that transition zone being that I'm adjacent to a tabled project now. I heard it in here after the fact of me being in here that doesn't apply to me, even though that I'm within the distance of that property. So I don't know if, I mean, that's maybe a question for another day.
Yeah.
But my biggest concern was the school district property and the word buffer.
Okay.
And that be more well defined as what buffer means.
Okay.
Type thing.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So first of all, thank you. I've almost got your address memorized. You've been-
Okay.
been here.
Well, you can come by if you want.
No, thanks for coming on regularly to,
Well, I mean, we're trying to help. I think anybody that's involved in the group I've been here with and in our area, we're trying to keep star.
well,
You
so
know,
the
type thing.
question- Sure. The question I have for you is I guess I want to understand, are you asking us to get more specific in the comp plan, or are you hoping that we get more prescriptive in the code? And the difference being the comp plan isn't really a document that requires things,
Well, it's a guideline, correct?
guideline, right? But our zoning ordinances do require things. So what is it that you're
Well, I
asking
think
the
that-
council to do?
I guess like I said, my concern was that piece of property that is basically vacant at this point and may be vacant for another 20 years for all we know. I guess in the event that it was sold, that it would, the buffer zone, I guess the overlay zone would apply, which sounds like it does. And then I guess my other concern and other people's concerns was the word buffer, and there was some confusion on what buffer meant. Because there was a lot of different things being said that, oh, with certain things here and certain things here, whether it's a berm or 100 feet or whatever, could change what happens in that supposed lot or property behind that. And I think it was brought up by other people that the buffer zone be well defined instead of could be this or could be this. So I guess a well-defined, this is what it is, instead of it could be this or could be this. depending on what you're willing to do, if that answers your question.
Yep, it does. Thank you.
And other than that, and I guess the other thing was in some of those transition zones, and I don't know if it's anything that is on that, which I don't think it is, but I'm not sure, that anything that abuts a transition zone or abuts those type of areas, that only single-story properties be built instead of two-story properties blocking everybody's vision, type thing.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that's all that's in person to speak, right? So we're gonna have to work our way down this list. Are all people that just want to speak, or did somebody speak last meeting? Okay. Okay, so Ann Cook is not on. So Mr. Robert Faylow is on. And Mr. Faylow, can you hear me? Right, those three.
I can hear you.
Yes, sir. So you have an opportunity to speak just to those three things that was new that was brought up tonight, because you spoke at the last hearing, I believe.
Can you tell me those three things again? Because I'm not sure exactly I caught that, but what I believe what I'd like to speak about is I heard that there was a comment that the estate residential border was dropped down to floating feather. Is that correct? Between Canada and Highway 16, was that dropped down to include areas north of floating feather?
Okay, hang on a sec. Let me pull up the map here real quick. So this is where it's currently at, right, Sean? So can you see the screen?
I can see the screen, yes.
Yeah, so this is the New Hope to Wing to Beacon Light. And so that is staying the same where that line is currently.
Okay, so I believe you might have read some of my written statements, but if you look just to the south of Floating Feather, there are many properties in there that are large lots with.
Mr.
Faylow,
I hate to do this to you, but you already spoke at the last hearing, and this topic is not one of those areas that you could speak towards. It's just the three items, which is the transit density table, the northeast corner of Highway 16 and 44, or the verbiage of not likely to be subdivided in the future.
Okay, can you please put the transition zone chart back up? Yeah, so I thank you for refining that wordage on the bordering areas of the special transition area zone. I do agree with Joe that there's other terminology within the description in the comp plan about buffering. It definitely needs to be more defined. So I thank you for kind of trying to work on backing those things up and making that more clear. But I still think there's more effort to be done on some of the other topics that are already still included in the description,
okay,
such as buffering.
Got it.
And I'm not quite, could you go into a little bit more what the second line is about the R1, RR, RUT, that they're 1/3 acre or R3? I don't quite understand that part of that.
So I'll let Councilman Keys explain that real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So are you talking about in the part that is about the special transition areas, or about just the general chart that's up above?
On the part below that's allowed transition density near special transition areas.
So yeah, we don't really.
Here. So
yes.
When is it allowed 1/3 or R3 next to?
If the lot that's in the special transition area is less than 1 acre.
Well, no, that's 1 acre or larger, right?
No, it's the second line. It's the smaller than 1 acre.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, I get it. So you are actually then accounting for the size of the lot in the special transition area with the chart on the top.
Yeah, so the chart on the top has to do just in general with everything in the city limits, with the exception of the special transition area. The special transition area has its own chart, which is that smaller chart on the bottom.
Correct. All right. So does that one on the top also address transitions within a certain subdivision that the lots can't go from 1/2 acre to 0.12 acre in the same subdivision?
No,
Is
No.
that addressed?
no.
I would like to see that addressed so that we'd have some transition within the new subdivisions that are being proposed, because otherwise you're just gonna create another area where the transition is very awkward.
Okay,
I think you did that in the Greendale subdivision very well, where the lots across the street from Wing Road were 1/2 acre approximately, and the houses across the street were 1/4 acre. And in the wordage in the comp plan, there's something in there about wanting houses across the street to be of similar size. So I think that would fit with that pre-existing condition.
okay. You have about 15 seconds, sir.
Thank you for your time. I still think that the estate area should go down to Floating Feather.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You got it in there. So we got Ryan Morgan, our city engineer, on. Does he want to speak at all?
No, Mr. Mayor, I am just an active participant in listening.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Just want to know what he's going to has to change tomorrow on my map.
We have Mr. Randy Wall.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm just here to watch the hearing, and I wanted to thank Sean once again for all the hard work he's done on the write-ups and the map. I think everything looks great, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we have is it Gray Wolf? Is that what it says on here? Gray Wolf? Are they on? Can you hear us? Okay, Miss Deborah Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any comments on the 3 topics you have for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chris Todd, is he on? Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, thanks, Mayor, Council, Chris Todd here. I just got plugged in a little bit late. I was with the kids this evening. So the 3 topics that you're discussing today, could you just maybe?
Chris, give us your address real quick, and I'll give you that.
53 North Plummer Road, Star, Idaho 83669.
Okay, so the three areas that you can speak to, since you spoke in the last time, is a transition density table that's up right now on the screen. The northeast corner of Highway 16 and 44, and the not likely to be subdivided in the future terminology, which is at the bottom of the screen right here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for us is similar to what we talked about, or what I testified to at the last city council meeting on the northeast corner of 16 and 44, and either having that as a mixed use area or keeping that as industrial and commercial for the city.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Miss Maxine. Huh?
It's not with us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
You don't have to pronounce her last name.
Okay, thank you. Is it Daniela Hansel? Okay.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. This is Daniela Hansel with Stonebriar. No additional questions. Just wanted to echo the same comments the others had on the definition of buffering. And I love the table.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. And thanks for all the communications, by the way.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Adam Capel. Okay. And Mr. Steve Green.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Green, 9999 West Star Acres Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to testify on the changes. I guess I would say I absolutely love Councilman Key's table. I think it's perfect. And I agree with Councilman Hershey that I wish the table had been available, for Trident Ridge, Greendale, Sunfield, and Canvasback. I think it's going to make a huge change as you move forward with future subdivisions, and I hope it can get codified as soon as possible. In the council packet, there was a sheet that said 50% rule, and I couldn't tell if the city had prepared that or if it was something that somebody had sent in. It was kind of in an odd spot. It's page 15 of the council packet, and it's suggesting changes to section 8.5.4. I think there's a lot of merit to that.
Okay. I had to clarify with Sean what that was. That was, say that again, Sean?
That was something a neighbor had submitted.
Okay, a neighbor submitted that info to us.
Oh, okay, my mistake. I think there's some merit to some of the language in it. You might take a look at it. I think as far as what it could improve is the situation where somebody tries to comply with the table that Councilman Keyes prepared and has a transitional lot, but they make it very long and narrow. They achieve the 1 acre or the 1/3 acre or the ½ acre, whatever the size needs to be, but they make it very long and narrow. I think that 50% rule provides some language that should be considered that would maybe prevent a long, narrow lot that meets the letter of the law, but not the intent.
So would you suggest putting that in like that table for the transition?
That's probably something we can work out.
That we can work out on there in our code?
amendment, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yes, I think that'd be great if that's possible.
Okay, you got about 15 seconds, sir.
That's all I had. I appreciate everything you guys have done and the opportunity to participate in the process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then is Gray Wolf on?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mary, I'm on. I have no additional comments. I think the table and the density is great. You guys have done a wonderful job.
Can,
getting
Mr.
this
Wolf,
worked out. Yes.
can you do me a favor real quick and just give me your name and address for the record?
Yeah, it's Gray Wolf, and it's 429 East Ridgeline Drive in Boise is my residence.
Okay.
And I have no further comment. I think the table is well done. You guys have done a nice job, and I have no further comment.
Thank you. And then did Ann ever show up on there? I just want to make sure before we're done. Okay. Okay. All right. So that is, and there's nobody else, right? Okay. All right. That ends the public testimony on here. Sean?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like to add one more item to this, since we're talking about that transitional grid. And we'll get definitely more specific when we do the code amendment. We can address Mr. Fay's comments about the buffering and Mr. Green's comments about 50%. I think those are some good avenues to pursue. One thing I want to just make sure that we have the intent here, and then as I go back and write that code, is that, are we going to allow flexibility on this if the developer works with the neighborhood and works with the specific property owners? In other words, if you've got a 5 or a 10 acre lot and the developer works with the property owners and doesn't meet those standards, are we going to be okay with that? I want to build in some flexibility that it doesn't have to be that small of a transitional or large of a transitional lot if everyone's in agreement. Similar to what we did with Sunfield and the neighbors.
So with that question, if we put that in here, we got to open up it for everybody.
It'll come back to you as in the form of the code
Of the
amendment,
code.
and then the property owners and neighbors can address it at that time. If you don't feel appropriate to comment right now, we'll just save it for the code.
What's up, council?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
I'm always in favor of being less specific in the plan than we are in the code. I think having the table in the plan helps us currently. When we put something in the code, I think then we run the risk of our comp plan not matching what our code says and having discrepancies. And so we may be right back here anyway, after we do that, to amend the comp plan yet again. And that'd probably be an easier, public hearing to do so. So I really like the idea of flexibility too. I mean, predictions are really hard to make, especially about the future. So everything that we put in code has ramifications that we haven't thought about and we haven't thought through. And it's just our best guess. And so, I want to be really sensitive to that sort of thing. So I'd be completely in favor of building that flexibility in our code. I would say that, what we've talked about here tonight with some of the changes we've also discussed on this table should go into the comp plan as is.
Very good.
Okay. So then with that said, I can close the public hearing on this and we can move to council deliberations. Yep, it's open for council deliberation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Hershey?
I just want to, okay. I think we all know where I stand on the table. I like it. And I also agree with Councilman Nielsen that comp plans should have more range and codes should be more tight. So I believe that this table as is, or even with Councilwoman Salmonson's adding more than up to, the words we use, I'm sorry, I've already forgotten them, but that set a definitive cap would aid in this. And then we get together with the code and discuss more of the buffering, discuss more of all the finer details that you also brought up, Sean. As for the corner, the corner that was discussed, and with the comments I've heard and with the comments from Councilman Nielsen as well, and with the fact, just for clarification, that would need an annexation, that corner? I think it would, right?
Well, the bottom, I believe the bottom part's already annexed into the city.
Okay, the commercial's annexed, in the city,
commercial
but
portion's already
the
annexed
north
in.
part would need an annexation. With that, because an annexation requires strictly a judicial process, it leaves a lot of levity to us if there's something we are inclined not to like. And so therefore, as proposed, I'm fine with that, as proposed. And that's my comments for now.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
So with the testimony that we heard from Ms. McKay and Mr. Bottles and Perry Mason, I mean, Councilman Nielsen's questions and urging, I'm satisfied and trusting and counting on you that they'll bring us a project that's worthy of what the council expects. And so I withdraw my objections. I'm in support of all of the changes that are in the staff report, along with the inclusion of the table as we've verbally amended it this evening. I'd also like to put the definition of not likely to be subdivided in the future in there, with the understanding that as we work on that in the code, that we may come back, we may very well come back and remove it from the comp plan. But I think for now it's a good placeholder until the code can come along.